I apologize for interrupting your lunch conversation, but I must. We have a wonderful program for you today. I have a little bit of business to take care of before that, so I would like to begin. First of all, thank you for being here. There are approximately 500 of you here, representing your state education agencies and the many partners who help us succeed in the state collaborative work. I just need to check here. The State Collaboratives on Assessment and Student Standards is a 20-year running project of the Council of Chief State School Officers. The Council periodically, like all good organizations, looks at its membership, looks at its service requirements, and updates those magic documents called strategic plans. If you'll bear with me, I think it's of value to share with you briefly the current new strategic plan for the Council of Chief State School Officers and talk briefly about its importance for us. The first goal in the strategic plan, and there are 6, is for the Council to support the states as they implement college and career-ready standards, and support the states as they implement the assessments that are going to be required. There's a little blue diamond up in the left-hand side of this box. You'll see the diamond appear on 4 of these slides. The diamond signifies that this is fertile ground for the state collaboratives, the groups with which you work. Think for just a moment about how the SCASS that has brought you here can serve this goal of the Council. This one, in parlance I learned a long time ago, this is a home run pitch. Every SCASS we have can play in this field and make a contribution. The second goal is to support the states as they develop accountability systems. Gosh, how long has ASR, Accountability Systems and Reporting, been playing in this field, and how much wisdom and expertise do they have to share? A bunch. The third goal, support states as they capitalize on their direct authority. I have to read this one and I'll explain why. As they capitalize on their direct authority and obligation to design and/or restructure their education workforce systems so that they are comprehensive, coherent, and focus on the effectiveness of the adults with respect to student outcomes. Shorthand, teacher effectiveness. Half a dozen of the SCASSes clearly have a stake in the ground on this particular goal. Fourth goal, to support the states as they develop comprehensive education information systems. Much of this work is being done through our partners. The challenge is to make these data systems comprehensive and transferable or uniform so that data can be shared across states. This one is less central to the work of the SCASSes, but we have contributions we can make. The fifth goal, support states as they ensure that all students have diverse, high-quality opportunities and options. This goal seems to be about the delivery of instruction and instruction itself. And as a personal curiosity in my 4 years working with the SCASS system, I've been intrigued from day one, and continue to be intrigued today, that there is no SCASS on instruction. Probably because in the beginning it fell outside of assessment and student standards, but as the SCASSes have grown, so has the field on which you play. Curriculum, instruction are all part of the system, and the system is open to us. And finally, the 6th goal in the CCSSO's strategic plan is to support the chiefs. Their desire is to become the authoritative leaders on educational reform and emerging issues. We work hard and have established new connections in the Council to earn the respect for the work that you do at the highest levels. Architects can design the most beautiful buildings, to fall back on a metaphor I enjoy, but it takes the iron workers and the brick masons to make it real. And that's what you all do. We're here to help build the capacity and the structures so that you can turn policy into practice. It's our single primary goal. If we fall short of that, we've fallen short of why we're here. So far, I think we're doing a pretty darn good job. 41 states, the Department of Defense, the District of Columbia, all are SCASS members in the 11-12 year. Across the last 5 years, our membership of our partners has grown from 31 to 46. State memberships in the same time frame, from 161 state members to this year, 198. In these economic times, in the reductions that you all are suffering, it is a tribute to the people who lead the SCASSes that they are bringing to you the experience that is helping you address these problems. Charlene Tucker, Sandra Warren, Wayne Newberger, Sharon Saez, Margaret Heritage, Kathy Swan, David Heil, Rolf Blank, Sue Pimentel, the advisors of the SCASSes, and our emeritus contributors. Folks have been around so long, we can't do without them. Duncan McQuarrie, Doug Rendoni, and the SCASS grandfather, sorry, Ed, you're too old to call you father anymore, Ed Raber. These are the people who are responsible for this success. Well, we can't be successful if we just come to places and have fun. There is a business and logistics set of issues to be dealt with. One of the things that our group has worked very hard on, Adam Peterman, Elizabeth Harlow, Don Blanc, Joe Crawford, Michelle Parks, is to be as efficient as we possibly can. Through the work of this support team, by consolidating meetings and sites, we've reduced historically meeting costs by $97 per person. Understand that that money is available to your SCASS to buy work that you want done. Now, at the same time that's been going on, our own support team has worked very hard to be as economical as we can, and we've been efficient. And we have an opportunity now to pay membership forward. Let me explain. Every 3 years, this is the second time because I've been with the council for 4 years, we engage in a rather in-depth inquiry, seeking your input about how we can do this better for you. We need your data to serve you better. This year the survey is online, and this year we are going to return value for your contribution. Make no mistake, this survey is not a check the box on a Likert scale. We're going to ask you to think and respond. When you do that, each complete survey that is returned is one entry for your state. This is open to state members, for a random drawing for a complimentary state membership for the year 12-13. The fine print. The decision of the judges as to what constitutes a complete survey is final and binding. That is, when we ask for your thoughts and input, you do not need to write a dissertation, but we do want to know that you have been thoughtful and that you feel free to speak your mind. And in an effort to offer the same opportunity you enjoy to your colleagues, the membership, the complimentary membership, must be used for a SCASS to which your state does not currently belong, so that you have an opportunity to bring other colleagues in your building into this group. The URL, you don't need to write it down. It will be emailed to every person who is registered and is attending. Needs to be completed by close of business on a week from Friday. And in case there's any lack of clarity, close of business for me is midnight. So we will look for you to get that done, get it submitted. We will address your input seriously and faithfully and respond. And we hope that the successful state will enjoy the membership in 1213 and push us over 200. To get to the lunch program today, we have a distinct pleasure of having Dylan Wiliam with us. However, I'm probably not competent to introduce Dylan in a way that would be sufficient. So I've asked instead Margaret Heritage to introduce Dylan. Margaret, of course, is at UCLA at the Crest Center, is the advisor for the Formative Assessment for Students and Teachers, SCASS. But that means I have to introduce Margaret. So I'll tell you a short story. I first met Margaret 3 years ago at an AERA conference in San Diego. I went with the intent of trying to entice her into leading the formative assessment group. We sat and chatted. Had never met before. She was gracious, charming, British. We talked about a wide variety of things. Membership in the SCASS, participation in the SCASS, people who were in the room, objectives, dreams for the SCASS. And I had recently made a decision about that SCASS, which need not be born here, that shifted things just a little bit. I concluded the conversation, left. Margaret was very agreeable to assuming the leadership and responsibility for the group. And as I walked back to my hotel, I realized Margaret had most graciously and most effectively chided me for the decision and corrected me. And I didn't realize it until I'd walked 3 blocks. And I said, if she can do that for me, what can she do for the FAST group? Ladies and gentlemen, Margaret Heritage.
Thank you, Bob. So what you had from me in the formative assessment world is called corrective feedback. So I'm glad it worked. Well, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Dylan Wiliam, with 1 L by the way, and no S at the end. Dylan is with us at the FAST SCASS meeting for the 2 days and is just an extraordinary presence. I guess my topic sentence for Dylan would be that he is one of the foremost thinkers about education in the world. He's one of the foremost researchers on education assessment in the world, and he's one of the foremost practitioners in the world. And I use the world advisedly. Dylan is in demand right across the globe. He's in Australia, Singapore, the United Kingdom, different parts of Europe, Canada, you name it, Dylan is there. And it really is because he has such an extraordinary intellectual capacity to envision the issues that beyond any of us to think about in the moment. Dylan can see what's coming a million miles away. And he's a formidable intellect, but at the same time has his finger on the pulse of practice. And there aren't too many people who can combine those aspects. Those of you who already know his name will associate him with Paul Black in their landmark and now famous review of the literature on formative assessment, which has become a reference point for any conversation, any discussion, any thinking, any work on formative assessment, wherever you go in the world. And the other thing, I think, to show Dylan's extraordinary reach is that many of you will know, but many of you may not know, that he was part of the validation committee of the Common Core State Standards and was recently appointed to a small group by the British government to redo the national curriculum in Britain. So I don't think there's many people in the world who have this kind of track record. And we're privileged to have him and share his thoughts with us this afternoon. So would you please join me in giving a very warm welcome to our speaker, Dylan Wiliam.
Thank you, Margaret. I should actually want to point out, I don't know if you know this, but Margaret became a US citizen 2 weeks ago. So she's one of your newest citizens. It was absolutely wonderful. What I want to spend the next 20 minutes or so talking about is something that I've been wondering about for a while, which is how do we prepare our students for a world we cannot possibly imagine? We, I think, are the first generation of educators who know that we have no idea what we are doing. When I started out as a teacher in inner London in the 1970s, I worked in an all-boys school. My job was clear. I had to get each of my boys an apprenticeship where they would learn a skill or a trade, electrician, plumber, carpenter, lathe operator, because I thought that if I got each of my boys an apprenticeship, they would have a trade for life. That is no longer true anymore. For the last few years, we pretended that we know what the future is going to be like, and I'm here to tell you that we don't. Now, I want to spend a little time talking about the world of work. I want to spend a little time talking about the abilities of children and the quality of teachers, and then perhaps a little time to spend on how we should respond to this challenge, because it really is a generational challenge. It is unlike anything we have ever faced before. First of all, I want to emphasize the benefits of education. And you'll hear lots of people talking about the economic benefits of education, but I want also to emphasize the non-economic benefits of education. The more educated you are, the longer you live. Doing that research takes quite a while, because you have to wait for people to die before you can estimate the impact of education on longevity. But the latest estimates that we have are that 1 extra year in school adds 1.7 years to life. They are healthier, they have less disability towards the end of their lives, they're less likely to be teenage parents, to be incarcerated, and less likely to commit suicide. But of course, there's also huge economic benefits. If we could raise the scores of 15-year-olds in the US to the level currently reached by kids in Canada, the net present value of that to the US economy would be $40 trillion. That is 3 times the national debt. Over the next 80 years, we could wipe out the national debt 3 times over just by raising levels of educational achievement. And if we could get all kids up to 400 on PISA, which is PISA's definition of basic life skills, the net benefits would be even greater, $70 trillion US. That's true right now. It's likely to be even more true in the future. One of the most scary things I've ever seen is this chart from David Autor's work and his colleagues, who've shown that the fastest disappearing jobs from the workplace are not routine manual, they're routine cognitive. Routine manual skills have declined, but routine cognitive skills have declined even faster. And that's very challenging for us, because as a result of NCLB, we are getting our kids better and better at jumping through the hoops of standardized tests. We're getting better and better at developing in our kids skills which are becoming less and less important in the workplace. What are the routine cognitive skills? Well, some of you I can see are old enough to remember what it was like getting a mortgage in the 1980s. You dressed up smartly, went to a savings and loan, asked nicely, and a human being made a decision about your application. Now it's an algorithm based on your credit score. No humans are involved. See, we used to think that having a skill made your job safe. But it turned out that cognitive jobs are easier to automate than manual jobs, which is why right now, people who used to assess mortgage worthiness are out of work, but shelves are still being stacked at Walmart by people on minimum wage. Why? Because computers are simpler than robots. but the robots are improving very rapidly. And the lesson of the last 250 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution in Northern England, has been this: as soon as a job can be done by a machine, it will be. Because they'll work 24 hours a day and they don't argue. The impact on wages has been extraordinary. If you're a high school dropout in the United States today, you're now worse off in real terms than you would have been in 1978. Back in 1978, if you're a high school dropout, you could expect to earn $13 an hour in 2007 adjusted dollars. And today, it's less than $11 an hour. That's extraordinary when you think about it. When you think how much wealthier America is today than it was in 1978, it's really quite extraordinary that if you're a high school dropout, you're worse off today than you would have been in 1973. And this is a result of two trends in the US economy, in fact the world economy: offshoring and automation. And for a while, these two jobs happened separately, these two trends. So it's very hard to go into Home Depot and buy a hammer that wasn't made in China. So some jobs have been sent offshore, others have been automated. Remember when credit cards first came out? You handed your card over, they put it in a machine, put the vouchers in there, ran the rollers over it, you got a copy, the store kept a copy, and one copy was sent to Delaware for processing. Where human beings sat at teletype terminals and typed this information in. Those jobs don't exist anymore because they've been automated out of existence. So there have been two separate trends that have destroyed jobs. One is offshoring and the other is automation. And those two trends are converging now to give us different kinds of challenges. Because call centers being based in India are the result of combining both offshoring and automation. If you have an auto accident in Manhattan at 3 a.m., the chances are that your x-rays may well be seen by a radiographer in Bangalore, which I think is good news because they're likely to be awake. But some jobs must be safe, surely. Surgeons,